Hi all, this is Ashish Kyal here. Welcome again to Elliott Wave News Channel by wavestrategy.com. And in today's session, we are going to talk about how Nifty is behaving with respect to time cycles. And is it possible to apply such time cycles not on just daily charts? You can apply it on an hourly charts, and it has worked out extremely well this time. So I am not very often look at time cycles on an hourly chart, but given the volatility that we have witnessed over past few days and the way markets have behaved, it becomes very prudent to look at the cycles at a very lower degree. And this has been working well. I identified that there have been certain cycles that have been working very well, and one such cycle going to discuss today on the webinar, which is applied on the Nifty chart. Again, as I always repeat, use this as a training purpose. You will not act on this free webinar. For acting on any of this on any of the research, you will have to subscribe to the paid subscriptions where the complete information is given and the clear strategy is given. This is from the for educational purpose only, and I'm going to share across why this cycle is important. Also, you can always understand that Nifty has been trading at the euphoric levels when it crossed around 11,750 on the upside. And I've been talking about why it is not a sustainable one, even when everywhere everyone was expecting 12,000, 12,500. We can clearly see from 11,760 high to the lows of 11,400 or probably 11,396 to be precise was just a very fast turnaround on the downside. It was so quick. Everyone was expecting at least 40-50 points pullback on Nifty so that they can probably square off the long positions on which they were stuck, but there was no pullback whatsoever until Nifty went to as low as 11,396. Post that, there was some pullback which was seen in yesterday's session and today's session. So this kind of volatility is sufficient for whether you are an option buyer on of a call or a put. Either side you are going to be whipsawed. Even if you are an option seller, it's not going to help you much because by reaching towards 11,760, a lot of option sellers would have squared off the position and then given away in the euphoria. And when it was panicked and Nifty continued to move lower very sharply, there was an equal opposite reaction that now it is best to square off the long positions because then it is not stopping anywhere. So that is how you end up buying at the highs and selling at the lows, and then the Nifty reverses. So it's with everyone who is probably just trading based on the gut feeling. You need to have certain method strategy. That does not mean there will not be losses, but there has to be certain methods based on which you have to take the positions. Let me now discuss about time cycles. Based on these methods, we have been able to identify good reversal calls in today's session. We gave calls across on something like Vedanta. We give calls on different stocks like Bajaj Auto, positional call, and others, and those worked out brilliantly well. It's not very often you find such high conviction trade setups and calls even on the buy side, and when the Nifty has fallen so sharply. So those are the intraday calls and positional call services that we are giving. Okay, now if you look at the chart of Nifty, and remember the last webinar we discussed about how this zone of channels are important, and those have been working out brilliantly. If you look at it, Nifty reversed exactly from the highs, came down very sharply. If you would have been long in the euphoria, you would have been really panicked and squared off the position at the low, so wouldn't have helped much. And at the same time, it whipsawed. The problem is it whipsawed around the crucial level of 11,500, which was a very important support. There was a possibility that we could have seen a lower levels, but what happened? Breaking 11,500, it went to 400 and then reversed back on the upside the next day. So that is the problem and challenge, and that's why using stop loss is very important. At the same time, I was evaluating using a time cycle. I'm going to share it and show it right now. If you look at the Nifty chart here, and then try to look at a certain cycle. If you are looking at this entire up move and trying to connect a cycle, I'll just try and connect a cycle right now from this low. This is the low which I have identified as an important low based on the wave concept, and this is the cycle which I have found that has worked out very well. So let me just try and identify the cycle what has been working well on the markets, and try and see what are the levels that you have to be looking at. So this is the cycle. If you look at this cycle very carefully, there is a low here, and then just so a wave count started at around this zone, and another wave started from this zone. So from this entire wave was contained within this cycle. From here, again, an important low was formed exactly at this point, and yesterday's low, which is there, is precisely again on this same level. So if I look at this, this is the same level exactly. This is an hourly chart, and if you look at this hourly chart and you try to plot the cycles, you know where are the lows that we are seeing. What we are observing now is a pullback after this low is formed on an hourly chart. So time cycles I'm using in order to understand what are the areas where we can start seeing some reversals on the downside, sorry, on the upside. And to my surprise, this has worked brilliantly even in the past. So if you look at the past cycles also, it has worked out very well. At times, it has been delayed to an extent. So for example, over here was the zone where it was delayed to some extent, but nevertheless, still we formed a low at this point. We formed a low again here. And if you try and look at the cycles from by going step by step, so if you look at it, the low was formed, and then we look at the correction which started on the downside. This correction was probably will be of a diametric. Again, the low was formed. Then again, if you go on the right side, and the channels are very important at the same time. So the channels have worked out very well. Again, the low was formed, and the channel and time cycle both here. So that was very, very important. Then the bounce back on the upside. Again, you will see that the low is formed exactly near the cycle. Now this time the channel was broken, and that's why the cycle worked, but the cycle worked very well. So it is very important for anyone to combine multiple ways of looking at the markets, because if you look at it, the channel was broken, the trend line was broken, the short-term support of 11,500 was broken, but the time cycle worked out very well, which means that every cycle we are seeing. So this is a 106 cycle, a day cycle, I think, and 106 hours cycle, and in every 106 hours or 105 hours, markets are changing the trend. So that's a very vital and important information for any trader, whether you are an option trader or a futures trader. And if you are able to time the market using such cyclicality, that will give you a brilliant result and increase in the accuracy. So that is this is just a sample of how time cycles can be used. You can evaluate and use different cycles and then try to gauge which one is working well. I'm sure Bank Nifty also has an amazing cycle working on it. Cyclical stocks have amazing cycles. If you can look at Maruti and many other such stocks and try and apply cycles, if you are able to time it well, that is the key for increasing the accuracy in the current scenario. So the overall market has formed a low on the cycle. There is a possibility we might start seeing non-trending moves now. We can go down, we can go up, we can see overlapping moves. I still think the important top at 11,760 is going to be protected. This can be just a temporary up move, and post that we should start seeing some kind of a down move again. So you have to trade very carefully. You need to be quick in booking your profits. If you are not quick, you are going to end up probably a winning position will become a losing one. At the same time, use a very strict stop loss. If you are not applying a strict stop loss, again, it's not going to help. So if you would have been short and did not square off your positions at yesterday's pullback, then today would have resulted into a much more loss. So that is why it is important for using strict stop loss on the trades. Use time cycles for study purpose to begin with, and then start applying it. And also, I'll be more than happy to share across my views. If you have any charts, you can post it on our traders forum, the wavestrategy.com. Wavestrategy.com has a traders forum where you can post your charts. I'll be more than happy to respond back on that. And you can also get access to intraday positional advisory or services of calls, where we are generating using multiple methods, but there are times when it becomes very challenging. There are times when the setup looks good, and if the cycle low is there, then it becomes easier. So it's always about probability, and we try to work hard towards increasing the probability of success. I hope this helps in understanding of time cycle, how it can be applied in a very, very brief way. It's altogether a very detailed study and research. You might have to uh, go through a very different aspect of cycles by looking at her time cycles. There's a book available. You can, in case you require more details, you can always reach out to me on helpdesk@wavesstrategy.com, or you can call me on 99 204 22202. I'll be more than happy to assist. In case you want to make your strengths on the cycle side, I'll be more than happy to assist with all my knowledge. That's it from my side. Stay tuned. Get access to the intraday calls or get access to the trading research report. And the multi-bagger research has been working exceptionally well, as I said in the last webinar. And see you again same time next week. This webinar will be available on the website after an hour, and you can always plot the charts also on wavestrategy.com. There is a charting tool. You can plot your charts, plot your cycles, and share it across. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend ahead.